นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะพุทธังธัมมังสังฆังนัมมัสสามิ Blessings, good evening. Tonight we've come together on the occasion of Asalaha Puja, the full moon day usually in July, when we remember the first teaching, first formal teaching or sutta that came from the Buddha, which we just chanted, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. The teaching that set the wheel of Dhamma rolling in motion. And that wheel is still rolling today, as it were. It's an important day in the Buddhist calendar and in the life of the Buddha. You might say the most important day is Visakha Puja, the day the Buddha became enlightened. But the important thing about Asalaha Puja is that having given his first teaching, Venerable Kalyano became the first person in the world to realize the Dhamma after the Buddha. Became a noble one. On that day he became Sotapanna, stream enterer. Having seen, following the teaching, the words of the Buddha, he had deep insight into the impermanent nature of existence, the conditioned nature of existence. Meaning the way everything that we're involved with in this world is in a constant process of change. Our bodies are constantly changing, influenced by different aspects of nature, and ultimately getting older. One day we have to pass away. Our minds change. We all know about the changing mind. Moods, thoughts, feelings, memories changing. And then the world around us, other people, animals, the things we make in this world, all the things we create, just the aspects of nature itself, always changing. So Venerable Kalyano had deep insight into that, led on by the teaching of the Buddha, and that freed his mind from a lot of wrong views. So on that day, he was the first noble one to arise in the world. And we say the true Sangha is the Arya Sangha, the noble ones who have seen the Dhamma, realized the Dhamma, practiced well, practiced in a way in accordance with the truth and in accordance with the Noble Eightfold Path, and realized the Dhamma, freed their mind from delusion. He was the first, but because Venerable Kalyano had faith and listened to the Dhamma and practiced the Dhamma out of respect, he proved to the rest of the world that this path can lead to fruit, lead to some good arising for humans. So what the Buddha was teaching is something worthwhile. It's not a waste of time and not too difficult for humans. Like many people believe, Nibbana is too far away, too difficult. But Venerable Kalyano on that day proved to us that it's not too difficult to achieve. And subsequently, the other first students of the Buddha also became enlightened, and then gradually more and more people, men and women, came forth, heard the Dhamma and became enlightened. But this day, as Ala Puja, we believe is a good, special day, because it's the day that the triple gem, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, became complete. And that's what we take refuge in when we follow the Buddhist path. It's now complete after that first teaching of the Buddha. So for the rest of us, follow the subsequent generations right down to today, we have a true refuge in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and a way of practice, a path of practice that can lead to all the way to Nibbana. So it should be a happy day, a joyful day for everyone, because it's a day we can ourselves aspire, make the wish to practice the Dhamma for our own peace and happiness, and for the benefit of everyone else. But it's not easy to practice. You notice, if you know the story, the Buddha, after his enlightenment, he came all the way to Benares, to the deer park, Saranath Deer Park, where his 5 former friends were practicing, the ones he had left to go off and practice alone. He went back to see them, thinking he could teach them the Dhamma, that they were ready, they had enough wisdom, they had good sila, they had already had a basis in meditation, samadhi. He thought they were suited to listen to the Dhamma, but when they first saw him coming, they didn't want to greet him. They're not happy to see him because they thought the Buddha had lost his way. They didn't realize he was a Buddha yet, because he had gone off previously and they had a very strong view, you might say a wrong view or a slightly skewed view, that the ascetic practices were the way to enlightenment. What we just chanted, self-deprivation, Artha Kilamatthana Yoga, pushing your body to the point where you're really under pressure, pain, going without, depriving yourself of sleep, food, rest, all kinds of things. They still thought that was the way to enlightenment, as did so many people in India in the old days. But the Buddha had, under the Bodhi tree, realized that's not the way. And that's an extreme view, that's counterproductive, it's not going to get you to develop true insight. He realized the Four Noble Truths, and particularly the Noble Eightfold Path. These 8 different factors, he realized these have to be cultivated and developed in order for one to see the truth. And the path of Artha Kilamatthana Yoga is not going to do it. So when they first saw him, they thought, well, he's given up on the right way of practice. He's wrong. And that's what strong attachment, clinging to views, opinions, beliefs does, isn't it? I'm right, you're wrong. So even his first 5 students thought he was wrong when he was walking towards them. And said, don't receive him, don't give him any special treatment, he's the one lost the way, not us. But he was so peaceful and radiant, and his words were so clear, what he said to them. Everything was different about him from previously when he had left them to go off and practice under the Bodhi tree. When he left them, he wasn't yet enlightened, but now he was. Now he's a self-enlightened Buddha. So everything had changed, the way he spoke, the way he looked, the way he acted. And they couldn't help but notice that, because they already were very wise. They just were missing out a few key pieces of the teaching which they required the Buddha to give to them. But they could tell he was peaceful, radiant, and his words made sense. And he said, have I ever spoken like this before? I'm going to teach you things. I've come to the end of my suffering, no more birth for me, which is what people like that, people practicing for Nibbana, equate with the highest happiness. If you can get out of the cycle of birth and death, no more birth, old age, sickness and death, all the things human beings don't like, if you can get out of that, if you can get beyond that, that's what we call Nibbana, the unconditioned or the deathless. And they had to agree. He's never talked about that before. Now he was. So they were willing to listen. And both the Buddha's words and their own insight following along was enough for Kalyano to have a life-changing event. His mind changed permanently. He abandoned certain fetters, what we call the 3 fetters, Sangyojana, and all kinds of ignorance and attachment to wrong views dropped away. But before that, he was still clinging to his own way of practice. And most of us are like that. You come to the temple, you're full of views and opinions. All of us, and no one's any different. If we still have arguments in our life, it's because we're still attaching to our view, our opinion about what is the right way of doing things, what's true, what's not, what's right, what's wrong. I'm better, you're worse. All the different views we have lead to arguments, conflicts, disputes. What the Buddha pointed out is the problem is really the clinging. We cling to our views and our beliefs. Sometimes even good beliefs can cause trouble because we cling too tightly. And the Buddha noted, when you practice letting go, releasing that clinging, that tight clinging to your views of all sorts, and the mind starts to feel more relaxed, there's a release, and it becomes more peaceful. So it could be the view about this body, or this body is mine. So of course, if you have a strong clinging to the view, this body is me, myself, then you're always worrying about it, always worrying about food and drink and feeling comfortable and getting all the kind of comforts and pleasures that you want with this body, and you want this body to look good and last a long time and never get sick and never get old and never die. As long as you take it as self, my body, then of course that will cause you suffering. That's why we have to let go and accept, this body is not really mine. Then you don't suffer so much about it. You still have your body, but you don't have to suffer with it. That's why the Buddha taught us not to cling, even to our views and our thoughts and feelings in this body. If you don't cling so tightly, you don't suffer so much. As Ajahn Kalyano used to say, one who clings and holds on and attaches a lot suffers a lot. Cling to your body, cling to your feelings and emotions, your thoughts, mind, myself. Cling to all the things around you, your family members, parents, husband, wife, children, friends, even enemies. You cling to your enemy. The idea someone is your enemy is another kind of suffering. We cling to our material possessions, my house, my car, my phone. When things go wrong, get broken, we get upset, we get suffering because of the clinging. When we separate from what we love and like, we suffer. When we're with what we don't love, don't like, we suffer. All of this, you can call this clinging. This is what the Buddha identified as cause of suffering. Clinging tightly. When Ajahn Chah was alive, he taught about this all the time. It's one of his favourite topics, teaching us to see how when we do cling, we suffer. But there'd always be somebody around who would say, well, if you don't cling to anything, you can't do anything in this life. You can't function, you can't do anything. If you don't cling, well, you no need to go and work, no need to eat, no need to do anything. Ajahn Chah said, no, that's not it. But just don't cling with ignorance and cling so tightly that you cause suffering. You can still go to work, but don't cling, don't attach. So it's a subtle thing that you have to learn how to do things, but without attaching, without clinging. Not easy. It takes time and effort. You have to cultivate some mindfulness, some wisdom, get to understand and observe where you are clinging. See, like, what's it like going to work or doing a job, doing a task, whether you're in the monastery or you're at home or you go out to work? What's it like working when you're not clinging? Well, you just do the job, don't you? You do the job that you have to do, but you're not clinging to necessarily so much to outcomes and results. I've got to get this from this work I do, I've got to get something. And usually we think, I've got to get praise, or I've got to get money, some reward. That's when we start to suffer, isn't it? We're not getting enough attention, not getting enough recognition, not enough money, not getting the things we want causes us suffering. What happens when you are more aware, more mindful, and you catch that, you can still do that job, but you just stop clinging. Don't keep clinging to the results and what you're going to get. Well, you just do the job to complete that job. Maybe do the best job you can with your skills, your knowledge, your effort. And then you can do a job and it's quite peaceful. Time passes easily. You don't get irritated so much because you're not clinging. It doesn't mean to say you don't do the job, it just means you do it, but without adding anything on. It's like when I was a young monk and everyone was sweeping the monastery in Thailand. We used to sweep the monastery every day. There's always somebody complaining, there's too much sweeping. Too much sweeping, takes too long, it's too hot, too dusty, too many leaves, and you sweep all the leaves and then 5 minutes later all the new leaves blow off the tree and you're back to square one. So sometimes monks would get upset. There's one day we came out and there were two monks near me, and one of them was looking at the whole monastery grounds. It's covered in leaves. He said, "Oh no, again, we've got to sweep all these leaves." And the other monk said, "Well, if you look at the whole monastery, yeah, it looks like a big job. Of course, you're going to get upset. You're going to feel you're going to lose your enthusiasm because it just looks like a big job, too much. When I sweep, I just sweep and I look at the ground at the end of my broom, and if there's some leaves there, I sweep them. That's all I need to do." You know, if you look at the whole monastery and try and sweep the whole monastery in your mind, already your mind is tired, you want to give up. If you just look at the ground in front of you at the end of your broom, that's doable, that's something you can manage, and you just start there. That's like someone who understands not to cling and attach when they work. They just do the job they have to do, focus on the present moment, what they have to do. When we're not very mindful, what do? We start clinging to all these thoughts and ideas, and they run away with us. So people say, oh, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? It hasn't happened yet. You don't need to worry too much about the rest of your life. Maybe just work on today. Make today a good day. Do what you have to do today. People worry about other people, all these other people we know, and some we love and some we hate. This person is like this, that person is like that. But you don't really know all those other people. They have to know themselves. You have to know yourself. If you start clinging too much to other people, what they're doing, what they're saying, you'll get very confused and waste a lot of energy, and your mind just runs away trying to guess what other people are thinking, guess what they're doing. I know what they're doing, but we don't know what they're doing. Just know yourself is enough. We don't really know the future for sure, so you don't have to cling too tightly to that, to those thoughts. Even the past, you can't be sure. After a while, your memories trick you, your memories change. And you forget things and make mistakes in your memories. What you can really know is the present moment, and that's why you practice mindfulness. Even then we cling, sometimes we cling to the present moment. Cling because we don't like something or we do like something. Ajahn Chah used to teach the monks, he used to say, what do you cling to most of all? Usually it's the form of the opposite sex. Men cling to women, women cling to men. If there's someone you like, you cling to their form, the way they look, the way they talk, the way they smell, the things they do, everything. If you fall in love with someone, it's automatic, and maybe you can't even get them out of your head. Ultimate clinging, when you fall in love with someone. Similarly, when you hate someone. When you hate someone, you also can't get them out of your head. Keep remembering that person that you don't like and what they did. And every little thing about them that you don't like, you keep remembering. That's clinging, isn't it? If you didn't cling, you could just see that person and you may know that they have good or bad habits. They've hurt you or they haven't. You know all that, but you don't cling. You just know, oh, they're like that. Some people you get on with, some people you don't. But you don't cling. When we start to practice mindfulness and investigate this in the way the Buddha taught, then we understand where you cling. Even if you cling to the good stuff, it still hurts you, doesn't it? You cling to the things you like, and then when they change or they disappear or you lose them, you're separated from them, you suffer because of the clinging. If you don't cling, you can accept that things do change. When you have some good times, if you're mindful of that, it's going to change, then when the good times are over, you can accept, oh, yeah, that was good, but now it's over, it's finished. You do something enjoyable, doesn't mean non-clinging doesn't mean to say you can't enjoy something or feel good, but you just know it's temporary, it will pass. When we cling, we say, oh, I don't want this to end, I never want it to end, I want to feel good all the time. Can this last forever? But nothing lasts forever, because the way of the world is impermanent. That's what Venerable Kondanya understood. And the Buddha said, oh, Kondanya knows. Nothing lasts. So in Buddhism we call this wisdom, understanding the impermanent nature of this body, our mind, our thoughts and views, the world around us. Everything is impermanent, not sure, uncertain. When we're clinging, we tend to try and make things as certain as possible. I've got to get it. It's got to be like I want. If everything turns out just like I want, then I'll be happy. And it never does. Most of us, we understand with our intellect the idea, the concept, everything is impermanent, sabbe sankhara anicca, everything is changing, everything's impermanent. And we understand the words, but we don't yet understand very deeply with our heart, and that's why we have to meditate. We can say the words, we can tell other people, everything's impermanent. Have you ever seen that? Like when somebody's suffering and their friend says, just accept it, it's impermanent. Maybe they've lost someone they love, or they lost their job, or something happened, some unfortunate thing happened, maybe made them sad. And their friend says, everything's impermanent, just accept it. But the person saying those words, when it happens to them, they're crying too. When it comes to us, we start to cry. When it's someone else, we can tell them all the Dhamma. It's very easy. Just be patient with it. When your friend is ill, you say, just be patient, it will pass. When we get ill, we start crying already. Easy to tell the Dhamma to others, but how much have we actually understood with our own heart? That's the challenge. That's why we have to keep practicing. Practicing the mindfulness, the patience, and then investigating the Dhamma. Try to understand with our own mind. When you understand, when you see it, then your mind is peaceful, like we chanted. When insight arises, the mind becomes bright, luminous, peaceful, not confused, not suffering. That's the mind that lets go of the clinging to the way you want things to be, and the mind actually just knowing the way things are, which is different, isn't it? The way things are is not how you want it to be, it's just how it is. But we're always getting lost in our desires, so we keep going, I want it to be like this. Why isn't it like I want? Why didn't this happen? Why didn't that happen? That's why we suffer. So the Buddha said, try to investigate this. When we meditate, we chant, and even daily life, just walking around, just remind yourself, everything is impermanent, not sure. So maybe I'll just give you this much Dhamma for the moment. Tonight is a night of Dhamma practice, so in a little while we'll be doing a candlelit procession, circumambulation around the hall. But I'll end the talk here.